Awesome, guys. Welcome back to the Go Getters podcast and, Go Getters coaching podcast. My bad, my bad. It's your boy, Dr. Andy Feta Chan, and I got the homie here with me.
What up, guys? It's Peter.
Yeah, today we got a pretty interesting topic. There's a lot of different ways to go with this topic, but we're going to be talking about how to get people to trust you. And I think there's a lot of different avenues that you have to kind of break down and make sure you're checking off. But Peter, any first thoughts on that question? How to get people to trust you?
Yeah, it's funny. I think people trust the opinions of other strangers they've never met. It's so funny because like whenever you go out to eat at a restaurant, right? What's the first thing you do? You immediately pull up their Google, look at the reviews, right? And then for me, that's like immediately determines whether or not I actually want to even go to their website and even check out their menu. Right. But I think, especially with today's day and age of social media, reviews, testimonials, the first thing that people are going to look at that crawls immediately to the top of their head is, okay, what are other people thinking of this one product or service?
Yeah, there's actually and you guys have to think about like, hey, if I'm buying something on Amazon, what are you buying, right? You buy the one with the most reviews. Uh, there's a great AI tool. It's called FakeSpot by Mozilla. And again, we don't get anything from them because this thing is free. I'm just dropping it in here because it's actually a really cool tool that detects fake reviews and scams. It'll populate like a score. So like, let's say something on Amazon's got like 1,000 reviews. They give you A, B, C, or D. A means like all of these reviews are legit. The closer it is to D means like most of these are bought or like most of them are fake. It was kind of crazy because when I downloaded it, I was like, a lot of the 50% of the top reviews were all like D and C scores. So I ended up starting to buy stuff from like the A and Bs because I was just like, oh, wow, I didn't realize this. But just a really interesting, I guess, like plugin that you can have, and you'll be shocked at like how many fake reviews and stuff like that there are.
So is that only on Amazon or does that apply to like Google and even like Facebook?
It's got right now on the webpage, it's like it's got Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Best Buy. I think I've seen it on Google. But any kind of like review site, I'm sure it's getting more and more robust and starting to pick up on like fake reviews everywhere. But
Damn,
it's
that's crazy. I think, I mean, people understand, right? The first thing that people are checking out is reviews. I didn't even know this thing existed until you just brought it up now.
Yeah, I find I subscribe to this guy Andrew Wilkinson. He's a billionaire in like Vancouver, Canada, and his
Yeah.
newsletter is funny. It's like his newsletter is just like sending out it's like a monthly newsletter. He's like it's more so like you're my friend, right? I'm writing this to a friend to update them on like what I've been up to, things that have been interesting to me. And I think
Mhm.
this was on his newsletter. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. So I downloaded it. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I'm about to use that for all the restaurants I'm looking up, looking forward to now. Make sure that they're legit and stuff. So yeah.
But dude, I totally agree, man. It's like the first like it's like the first impression kind of, right? It's like if
Hmm.
you've got a lot of positive reviews, I'm willing to start to look at you more or like kind of figure out like if this is something that could potentially solve my problems. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Would,
think like social proof is huge, right? Because people just want to see make sure that they are able to get the results that they're hoping that they can get. And one of the easiest ways to, increase that probability of them thinking that is to showcase, hey, I've got 100,000 other people that are exactly in the same situation as you, also a runner, also dealing with knee pain, also trying to qualify for Boston, right? And they've been able to overcome this one thing. And so the probability of me, also a runner, trying to qualify for Boston, but dealing with knee pain, trying to achieve that desired outcome will probably be pretty high if other people have also achieved the same thing as well too. So if we can almost like document and showcase that and provide as much proof as possible, then I think that will definitely help increase the the trust variability or trust factor in somebody who's debating on whether or not you're the right fit for them.
yeah, I think a general principle of like marketing is like you want someone to consume what you're putting out or see your landing page and think to themselves eventually like, oh shoot, they're talking to me. right? All that stuff is like super, super intentional, which is why like even when we take pictures and stuff for our website, it's like another way to build trust is to like ideally have some pictures of you working with clients that resemble some of the people that you want to work with. So we have females, we have males, we have, you know, people from different ethnic backgrounds, people of different body shapes and sizes, doing different exercises. And it's like you eventually want to, you can be very general like that because again, we're not like, hey, we only work with BJJ athletes or like ACO
Mm.
athletes. We just help people that have been in, you know, chronic pain. Like I would say that's our niche. Like we've seen a lot of people in chronic pain. So it's like we want to show people that like, yeah, you might be 40, 50, or 60, but we've helped people like that before. You might be someone that's athletic. We helped that, you know, demographic before. And I think the more you have of these kind of like demonstrations or like people from like different goals and backgrounds and activities, it's just easier for people to buy in.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've been testing out and playing around with a little bit in our marketing message is just because over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of people that have come to us as almost secondary options after they've been to traditional physical therapy. So now, even in our marketing message that we put out there, we will specifically almost kind of try and speak to that demographic that has been to traditional physical therapy. Speaking in specific terms that only they would understand if they've been there, right? So, hey, like, have you been, left alone on a bike for the last 15 minutes, just cycling through, doing the same thing over and over again? And then when you can specifically, target that demographic with the right messaging, it just like hits so differently.
I love that, man. Because if, you know, one of the things that we do in Discovery Call, right? It's like by the time you've asked a bunch of questions to the person, you should be able to summarize their problem better than they can. And that's usually when they usually say something on phone like, yes, yes, you
Yep.
understand. It's like, yep, that's what we're looking for. I got a funny story because we started using some global talent. So we have one person that's been helping us on the video editing, social posting, distributing content. And I'm like, all right, let me like look into this more. We're gonna hire someone for like just back end ops. And I get on a call with the founder of one of these like headhunting agencies.
Hmm.
You know, he's giving me a spiel, and we're talking about like how to we potentially collaborate and work together in order to grow Moment. And he goes, hey, do you have some extra time? And I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you need? He goes, well, you know, as a part of like before we get on these sales calls with people that are interested in hiring global talent, we scan their website. And, you know, I was scanning your website and everything that you said described what my physical therapy experience has been like. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, I just really appreciate that because lets me know that the copy that we're writing is working.
Is on point.
Yeah, he ended up being like close to like Long Beach in California, and I was like, listen, we could do this virtual, but I know a ton of homies out there, and I connected him with someone locally. But I was cracking up because I was just like,
It's so true though.
you can't
Yeah.
make this up, like, you
No,
know?
and they know. Yeah. I think, yeah, a lot of the, common objections that hear over the call or on the initial evaluation, if you almost like build that into the copy and the marketing message, then it will help tremendously downstream when they actually get into the clinic or on the call because they've already been exposed to that and they already kind of understand, hey, what are the benefits of coming out of network versus coming in network. But yeah, to bring it back on track. So to increase people's trust in you, right? So we have social proof, um, testimonials, reviews, anything else that you guys are doing to increase, the likelihood of someone trusting and wanting to work with you to, think that, hey, you're the right fit to be able to help them get to their end goals.
Yeah, I think there's something to like the branding aspect of it, right? And this is like if you talk to like traditional like business coaches, they're like, dude, branding doesn't matter. Just focus on sales, marketing, conversion, blah, blah, blah. But branding makes all that stuff easier. Like
Yeah.
if you start to build a good brand, one, you're probably good at marketing, but sales gets so much easier when you've associated your brand with something of, you know, fairly higher quality. So like how can you like make an impact from a brand perspective, right? Think there's some easy things where it's like, you know, we joked around with this. It's like, hey, why are we go getters coaching? Right. Because I don't want to be called like some. arbitrary CEO mastermind group. I think it's corny as hell, right? It's like it's so played out. You know, would you rather go to Moment Physical Therapy and Performance, or do you want to go to Andy Sport and Spine? Like Andy Sport and Spine sounds like the place where like you go to like get progressive underload. You know what I mean? Like so from a
Progressive
branding
underload.
perspective, from a branding perspective, it's like lowest hanging fruit is like make your name something kind of popping.
Hmm.
Create something that like you can tie with your name, right? So like for Moment, we always say like hashtag this is your moment. So it's like extra points if you use a word that people are always going to see, right? Or like always going to say. Like there's so many puns with Moment that like someone is going to eventually see that it has a sign somewhere or mid sentence and they're thinking about you as Moment. And then the third aspect of it, it's like being more conscious with like the graphics and the stuff that you pull out, just making sure that it's a little bit tighter, a little bit more sleek. And with the tools that are at your disposal now, with like Canva and everything, like it's so
Hmm.
easy to make really high quality graphics without having to hire like full time, graphic artists as a part of your team. But from a branding standpoint, I think those three things make sense. And if you're charging higher ticket, like please just have like an intake system, some sort of way to like sign off on a signature because there's a lot of people that want to charge like higher ticket and say, hey, I'm going to send you a PDF. Can you sign it and bring it back to me? It's like, bro,
Hmm.
costs you $50 maybe a month for an intake system. Just pay for it. Like you close one package that'll pay for the intake system for the rest of your career.
For sure. Yeah, I know a lot of times one of the questions that we've been asking or that I've heard in the last couple of weeks is, hey, these credit card processing fees, like, should we pass these on to clients? I was like, no, make sure you just bake that into your price, right? Like, set your prices high enough so that you can basically, take into account for it. But yeah, I love what you're talking about with the branding and everything. And I think one of the really easy ways that people can kind of put all this together and put it out there is to just really take videos of their clients. I think that will hit on a good bit of both like the branding of what it looks like in your clinic, what it looks like to come work with you, as well as also hits on the social proof. Hey, like here's somebody else who looks exactly very similar to me with the similar goals, working on the same problem that I have. And then you put that out into the public, and yeah, it's a really great way to increase trust within people who've never even met you before.
Yeah. The and that kind of falls into like what I was going to say next, which is like I think, man, people got to do content marketing better. Like your content marketing has to at some point deliver value instead of like poke fun at the other person's like lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
There's some people like, oh, you still don't have an S&C program and you do this. Ha ha ha, you're missing the boat. It's like just show people how to write an S&C program. Like build content that people can actually plug into their day-to-day life. And what you're going to realize is you have better interaction. You'll actually build a following because what you're doing is valuable. You're not just saying like, I've got 5 spots for, people that are 50 years old and still want to surf again. It's like, bro, just show people how to surf again through your content. Some people don't actually need your full on care. Some people might need one or two gems because they're fairly healthy. But guess what?
Yeah,
If you buy them one or two gems and they do get injured, you're going to be the first person that they reach out
they
to.
call. Yeah, I think one of the big mindsets that I had very, very early on when it came to content was I didn't want to show them everything, right? I wanted to gatekeep everything. But in reality, it's just like, no, give them the actual things that will help them, right? Give them everything. What people pay for is really the accountability and the implementation moving forward, right? But yeah, give them everything. And if they get better, awesome. That's great, right? They're gonna let all their friends and family know, hey, like I was able to decrease my back pain just off this one exercise that I saw on Andy's page, right? And then if when they do get like a actual knee issue that they can't figure out on their own, guess who the first person they're going to call is going to be you, right? And it's the same thing we do in our like local community workshops events, right? We provide so much value in that 1 hour that we'll see almost like multiple trickle down effects months down the line where we have people calling saying, hey, like I heard about you guys because I had a buddy came to your workshop and shoulder seminar and like it helped out his shoulder tremendously. But I've got this foot issue. going on, and I was hoping you could help me out with that too because you were able to help out my friend. And so literally, just yeah, give them as much value as possible.
Yeah, the and what when people are like, "Oh man, what do you want to do?" It's like, "Oh, I just want to make an impact. I just want to help people." Except on my content, right? They have to pay. You know what I mean? Like don't like like you said, you're gatekeeping. Like if you're genuinely like, "Yo, I want to help people and I want to deliver value," like
Yeah.
I think that's what you got to lead with. Like when even if you go into like our go-getters coaching content that you've shared, right? It's like you watch those videos, you're gonna level up, you're gonna get better. Like we're not trying to tell you like what are the secrets. It's like we're literally just telling you some of the things that we implement with the people that we coach and they're getting better from it. And then we create content and we create trainings off of it. There's no gatekeeping. But I'll tell you what, you're not going to get better just from consuming the content. You need to pay because that gives you some skin in the game. And then everything afterwards, the accountability, the implementation. This is the principle of how to do it. But there's so many different like tactics or ways to modify an exercise or ways to modify your messaging so that you get the outcome that you want. But I love that because like people always say, "Oh, I don't want to share that exercise." I'm like, bro, it's an exercise. If you don't share it,
Yeah.
someone else will. Like you can't be married to those things, and you got to let go of the fact that like no one's asking you to solve everything, right? And if through your content, if they are, they're the wrong person for you.
Hmm. Especially, you got to think like people will think, hey, if their free stuff is this good, imagine how great their paid stuff is going to be.
The paid stuff is always better. I mean, like 90% of your stuff you can give away, and that 10% where it's like these are the things that you can implement and be an absolute game changer. Those are the things that people pay for, and it's also like the other aspects of it, like having a peace of mind and some transparency, right? Like people are also paying to get some very specific questions answered about them. Do I need surgery? Do I need to like cancel this race and sign up for another? Like
Hmm.
all of those things, I think deliver a ton of value.
Um, here's a here's maybe a controversial topic, right? And I'll be curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. So, how important is the clinical side of things on the initial evaluation? So, and I'll kind of give you some context, right? So, say you have one clinic where they absolutely have no marketing at all, right? And this person just comes in, but this clinician, absolute like stud, crushes it out of the park with the initial evaluation, clinical, makes a big difference, but no like social proof or whatever. Maybe they're just starting out. Versus another clinic, so much social proof, testimonials out the wall, like they're being seen everywhere from, TV, newspaper,
Yeah.
if newspapers still exist, radio, right? Everyone just hears about this one clinic, boom, 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 like they're the best, they're the best, they're the best. And then the one person shows up to the initial evaluation and maybe like this clinician, average clinician, and maybe just gets them like some results, but there's like all this social proof. Which one do you think would have a higher chance of converting this person onto a plan of care? And I'm yeah, genuinely curious. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer because I think we'll honestly see both, right? Like
Yeah.
we'll see clinics that are just starting out. This clinician is really, really great at what they do, but they don't have any kind of marketing at all. There's no like social proof out there. The trust variability from a stranger coming in isn't that high, but they're absolute stud with the clinician. Whereas like you also have these like giant conglomerates that are just like millions of dollars in marketing budget, just like crushing it. Right. So, but yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's like one, my whenever we create these scenarios, right? I understand where you're coming from because it's almost like you're trying to figure out like which one's better to prioritize. So, like me and you, we kind of take the different approach of like if both options are on the table, bro, we're doing both, right? We're gonna be
Yep, exactly.
amazing clinicians and we're gonna try to really level up the marketing and everything else. But if you're an amazing clinician, right, I think you tend to do better in the long run. Whereas like if you have amazing marketing but you're not that good clinically, you tend to do
Yeah,
better in the short run, but in the long run, people if people don't get like
they're not going to return.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like if people aren't getting an unbelievable service, an unbelievable outcome, they're always going to look for another option, right? And if you're hedging your bets on the marketing, like marketing is good, obviously, to get people through the door, but the actual experience itself is what's going to create raving fans. And that's what you should be doing. Like anytime that you're building a business, you should always be thinking like, how do I change someone's life? And you don't change someone's life through marketing, right? You change someone's life through the actual delivery of the service. But I would say that it depends on what you want to prioritize, the short term or the long term. Like I always believe in like playing the long term, building a relationship over time, because you probably feel this way too. It's like there are a couple of people that are just super connectors. They know everyone in their local communities. Maybe they're a business owner themselves, but you do a good job with them, and they just keep bringing people to you. They're like, "Oh, you gotta see Peter. He's the freaking man. Like, screw that, big box, physical therapy clinic. Like, this guy knows what the hell he's doing." And I feel like that's what I'm after. The marketing stuff just amplifies that. Like, if you aren't a good physical therapist delivering an amazing outcome,
Mhm.
we putting so much marketing into this, like,
Yeah, the product and the solution has to be good first.
yeah. And I think this goes back to like the building the trust side of things, right? It's like, how do you build trust? It's like you've got to be able to convey that you're the person that can solve someone's problem on a deeper level. The content that we create, always a lot of it breaks down like the why we do things, right? I think everyone's so used to getting the what, just arbitrary exercises. But it's like, why is this important? How does this connect to something, right? Because if you're connecting the exercises that you're talking about to an actual outcome or an activity, I think people start to understand like, oh wow, there's true expertise here. You're not just some sort of influencer throwing exercises up there.
No,
Well, how do you feel
100%.
about that? Focusing on the clinical side of things, or like building on the really good marketing side of things.
I think you need both, right? Because it's exactly with what you said. If you have a shitty product, like you can get people in the door, but then they're not going to want to stay, or they're going to probably maybe even leave a negative review. Right? So the product and the solution has to come first, right? You got to make sure, hey, you can definitely get people great outcomes. But after that, man, is just I think a lot of clinicians, they're really good clinicians, but they gotta hone in on the marketing. Like just not enough people know about them. I think I was talking to you about this the other day where, we have like pretty good outcomes. And I feel like we also try and do like a pretty good job of like marketing to our local community. And I look at the total number of people that are in our city, right? The entire demographic. I think within Duval County in Jacksonville, there's just over 1 million people. And then I look at the total number of people on our email marketing list that we're talking to on a weekly basis. It's, I believe, just over 7,000. And then so if we do the math on that, that's literally just under 1% of the entire demographic. So man, like we're really, really good, right? But it's just less than 1% of our demographic within our local vicinity know about us. So it's just, yeah, we got how do we and this one of the things that I'm trying to work on for this next year is like how do we kind of like increase the ante up on this, right? Like increase the amount of people that know about the fact that we actually exist. Right. Because
This
like I think from like an overall experience standpoint, right? Like if 1% of the people in New York knew about the type of level of experience they would get at Moment and the results that they would get at the end. Like it's a no brainer that they would go to Moment versus like whatever I don't know what the big box hospital chain is there, but
yeah,
they don't even know that Moment exists, right? They don't know they have that option. So it's yeah, going back to kind of your question, right? I think you need both. You need absolutely the solution and the be able to get them good clinical results. But also I think, yeah, you got to hit hard on the marketing so people know that you can actually get them results.
yeah. There's man, and I feel like the way we're trying to attack it is like we have like a PR person, so like she gets us featured on like magazines, she gets us featured on the live TV, which is insane. But all those things do play a role, right? Because like before I wanted to pay this person, which is it's expensive, it's not cheap to have someone
Mhm.
do you. I asked all of my patients, I was like, hey, if you saw that I was featured in Forbes and like, all of these like high-end publications like Women's Health, Men's Health, Runners Magazine, would that skew your would that build trust for you? And people either said yes or they said no, but I know that it would make my friends like it would skew my friends' buying decisions. So I was like, perfect,
Yeah.
this is super helpful. So like that's one thing we did. A thing that I think might be useful for you to think about is like I have my coach Dan Martell, and one thing he says is like in terms of like amplifying your message, like you got to build your own stage, which is like your own personal brand, and you got to step on other people's stages as well. So
Mhm.
it's like if there is like a dope, I know you're part of like the run clubs locally, right? Like they've already been building their stage, you've been building your stage, so it's like now you guys get to potentially reciprocally hop on each other's stages, and then there's that cross whatever pollinate.
Co-collaboration.
But I think that's the next step probably for you and like people that are listening. It's like how do you build trust? How do you associate yourself with people that have been in the community for a long time that have high levels of credibility? And how can you create a scenario that's like more win-win? Like we talked about that, the funny motion.
Motion Mile, it's coming in next year.
But I think that is something to think about from like a build trust perspective is like if you're a smaller brand, how do you associate with bigger brands that might have a local branch, right? Even if it's something as simple as like an Orange Theory F45, like they're well
Yeah.
established. So like how do you collaborate with some of these people?
I think one of the things that is huge in today's day and age is almost utilizing like influencer marketing to your advantage. Right? Like you're up in New York. You have all these like big like fitness influencers. And so can we co-collaborate with them, get them in for a session? Maybe it's free, right? Whatever it is. But then in return, they get it recorded and then they actually, showcase the results that they're able to get working with you to all of their audience, right? And all of a sudden, it's kind of just that like, what do you call it? Like authoritative perspective, right? Where you kind of establish yourself with someone of high importance, and then somebody sees that and they're like, "Oh wow, okay, if this person is going to Andy, like Andy's probably pretty freaking good."
Yeah, we recorded a full on session and we're running the ads with that session. We're also posting it on YouTube. But it's a previous patient of mine. But I'm like, man, this guy is. I was like, man, Anderson one, he's a homie, right? Like whenever we're like talking shop and we're having fun during a session, and I was like, yo, this guy is exactly who we work with from an active perspective, right?
Hmm.
He's kind of jacked. He's got tats. He runs like he runs marathons, halves. He comes in and he's wearing like I'm checking it off. I'm like, oh, man's got his ASRD like run shorts, got a liner built in. He's got dope shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm like,
Yep,
man, someone's
yep.
gonna watch this and be like, and they're gonna look down at their pants like, yo, I got ASRD too.
That's
Like,
me.
yeah. But I have people that a famous person. It's funny. I always like he's like a celebrity now, but like my buddy Matt Choi. I've known Matt when he had like less than 1,000 followers.
Mm.
And again, it's not like I've never asked Matt to like share me or do anything like that. But whenever he pulls up to New York, we grab coffee or lunch and like we chat and then we'll take a picture. And then people have reached out before in the past and were like, "Yo, I'm coming to see you because I saw you on Matt's story."
Matt Choi.
So, and then I've had other friends in the industry that I've known for a while that have done some significant stuff. There's this one person, my buddy Dev. Whenever he shares us, it's like we get like 10 leads right out the gates, and it's like it's insane. But I do think there is some benefits there, to like connecting with like local people, and I wouldn't even call them like influencers unless they like being called influencers, but they're just people
Yeah.
that, have a
What's
heart.
the right terminology for that these days?
Oh man, I just call them homies. Yo, you're a homie.
The homie.
So, yo, bro, we're doing like this new promotion. Like, I know, obvious because it's like the value add, right? It's like, why
Mhm.
would someone want to do this for me? It's like, I like one, I'm gonna treat you complimentary. Two, we're gonna record a bunch of dope content. I'll send you all the content that's chopped up and edited so that you can get those things too. And we both obviously have building. You've been building your platform. I've been building my platform. So hopefully, we have people that come from our side get interested in your kind of more performance side of things.
No, yeah, I love that. I know I have a couple buddies that work with pro athletes, and one of the things that they do that I think is really cool. So for us, we don't really work with that many like football athletes, but what they'll do is they'll basically get these like signed jerseys and they'll put them up in the clinic. So the first thing that people see when they come in is just like, oh shit, like pro athlete jerseys like everywhere. It's like, man, all right, if this is where the pros come to train, like there's got to be some credibility here.
Oh, I think that's another one, right? And I love what you just said about like this is someone coming into your space, like, oh man, this is like the jerseys and stuff like that. The other credit, from like building trust perspective is like the actual space. Like, if your clinic doesn't look like every other clinic in the area, maybe your ad strategy isn't necessarily convert people on the phone, but to get them into your space into like a workshop or something. Because once they see that you exist, or once they walk through your door, every subsequent conversation is easier. And those are things that even we're trying to figure out, right? It's like our ads right now are going to a landing page to book a call. Should we try stuff where it's like, oh, they just need to come in and see that we got squat racks, to see that we have turf sleds and all these other things, force plates, etc. Because once people come in, they can see with their eyes and they know that it's different. It's like, oh, this is way more serious than this is actual sports rehab.
For sure. I think the moment that people opt into something is the moment you should start doing all these things that we're talking about, right? So, hey, maybe can we send them a picture? Hey, like check out this picture of the space that you would potentially be working in, and it's like squat racks. And then maybe after that, then they get an email about like a patient testimonial that's also in their similar situation. And then, just continue to inundate them with like as much overwhelming proof as possible that, hey, this is the exact environment that I want to be in. And then once they, for us, like at our clinic, once they actually come indoors to our actual space and they sit down in our waiting room, we have a testimonial flip book.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
good.
so that's actually, yeah. So if you guys aren't doing that, I would definitely recommend. So in the testimonial flip book is just pictures of our clients and them holding up their like whiteboard picture of the things that they were able to accomplish. And then it's just like we've got, I think, three different books now at this point, and they're just picture, 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 and we just leave it open. It's like, hey, like while you're waiting, hang out, look through this book, right? So we intentionally tell them, hey, chill out here for a little bit, look through this, and then from there, right? They go through that, and then when they come into the room on the initial evaluation, like we have one wall, and it's just in every single one of our room, and it's just Google reviews, Google reviews, Google reviews, testimonial, testimonial, testimonial. So I
Love
think
that.
it's like it could be almost like overwhelming at one point if you kind of think about it, but like the goal is to yeah, like overwhelm them with so much like positivity and hope like hey, I can actually be able to achieve this end result that I haven't been able to achieve for so long because of all these other 50, 100 other people that have been able to do the same exact thing that I'm looking to do.
Everything you're talking about, I think it's so important because like if you're like, oh, this person didn't book an evaluation and that's it, right? Like we'll see what happens. It's like you're leaving so much money on the table. Like you gotta have CRM and email marketing. Like, and our drip is very similar to yours. It's like, hey, welcome to the moment. This is what we're about, right? Or like, hey, I believe one of the first emails like why we created a moment, what our facilities look like, what to expect when you work with us, why are we taking such a movement based approach? Like we just keep dripping these emails over a span of a couple of months. And then they obviously are in our newsletter afterwards, but they start to understand like and it doesn't mean that they need to read every single email, right? And you don't need to like stockpile one email with like freaking essay. Just like these little gems so that you can slowly build awareness. And there's something about showing up in someone's inbox and like delivering some value that people feel like they owe you something after you've
Mhm.
been telling them for a little bit. And you can't feel bad about being in someone's inbox because, they have the power to unsubscribe and do all these things. So as long as they're staying in, they care about your message.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, and I love the fact that you're talking about, hey, what can we do to educate them from a like a brand awareness standpoint, right? Like, hey, why are we so movement based? Hey, this is our story, right? Like this is how we got started. I think a lot of like the cool like restaurants that I go to, a lot of them all have like, hey, this is our story of how we got started. I think people are generally interested in that, like, hey, like how did Moment get started? Like how is this place that I'm coming into? How did it get started? Like how am I able to sit in this place in the first place? What is the founder's story? And I think, yeah, being educating them on that, educating on the main core principles and values that you guys hold by. What is the standard at this company? It's huge. It's a really great way to kind of set yourself apart, even if there is another cash pay clinic down the street, right? It's like they can't replicate your brand. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And another like a couple more like easy wins is like creating like some more like landing pages in your website. Like one of the things that we have on our teams, it's like you get a picture of all of us and like a little bit more about us, but then we also have like a full on list of like all the Con Ed courses that we've taken.
Mm.
And the thing looks like a laundry list. You know what I mean? Like, so people are like, and then we hyperlink those to the actual people. So like you can like check out like what we actually learned and you'll see it's like there's just it's one thing to say like, hey, we prioritize getting better. It's another just to show you like these are all the things that we've taken. Even in like our services tab, right? You know, we have physical therapy, obviously, and we list out all of the body parts from an SEO perspective. We have runners and endurance athletes, return to sport, barbell training, kettlebell training, which is our most common ones. So you can create more specific landing pages if you work with, very specific populations because Peter and I were talking about this before. It's like some people go into ads right away and all these other strategies, and people don't make decisions that quick, right? It's not like what they show you on YouTube. It's like, oh, I put $5 in an ad and somehow I printed it $100. Like, no, it's like you got to have a lot of things set up where people can actually read about you, crawl your website, look at your Instagram. And the cool part about like what we've been talking about is like when you build all these things in the back end, you'll have people reaching out randomly because there's people that click on your website somehow to get access to your Instagram or they're on your Instagram, they see your website, they look at your website, it looks high level, and it just keeps stacking and reaffirming that this is where I need to be.
No, 100%. I love that. Are you familiar with from a consumer standpoint, what the different levels of awareness are? Have you ever heard of that?
No, it's just like the trans theoretical model of change type kind of thing. Like,
Kind of, yeah. So, man, I can't remember what the five stages are off the top of my head, but the whole point of like marketing and building up trust is providing more education. You kind of move these leads down the level of awareness. At the very, very bottom of the funnel is like brand aware, right? And so this is like the most well-educated lead. They know exactly what the principles of moment is. They know why moment is different from physical therapy. And I think above that is a solution-aware lead. So they know that they need physical therapy, but they don't know what the differences in physical therapy are. So they just know, hey, like I've got knee pain and I know I need physical therapy, right? But I've got all these different options out there, and I don't know the difference between in-network insurance physical therapy versus out-of-network insurance physical therapy. And then I think above that is, let me think. I think it's called like problem aware. So these are people who um, these are people who know they have a problem, but they don't know they have a solution for it. So people who know that they have knee pain, but they don't know if they need physical therapy, chiropractic, ice, surgery, etc. So the whole point is like you gotta use your marketing message to move people down this funnel until they're like so well educated and they know and trust like Moment enough, like, okay, hey, like I've been well educated on all these different things that Moment is exactly who I need to go to in order to resolve my problem.
and it's got to be, man, because there's one thing I think that people might run into, and if you're listening, it's like third grade comprehension.
Yeah,
Like people are like, oh, this is where you come to like induce hypertrophy responses. Like, no, bro, this is where you do come to get strong. Like, that's all you need to say. Like, there's so many people I think that they're not educating their actual target demographic. They're just like trying to impress their colleagues. And like, unless your
yeah.
colleagues are paying your rent, bro, it's time to start educating like potential clients.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, I know 100% that was definitely one thing at the very beginning when I was putting out content for Motion RX. I was like, man, what are my peers going to think of this? Like, is this like high enough level education of exercise that they're going to be impressed? Right. But it's exactly what you said. Like, those aren't the type of people that we're trying to talk to. And we're trying to talk to the people that, are actually ideal clients of ours? What is how can we put it in language that they can actually comprehend and understand enough? Yeah, do you have any tools that you can basically feed your content into to make sure, hey, it spits it out at like a third or fifth grade reading level?
No, I forget there's like something called like Da Vinci or something like that. But
Yeah, there's definitely something out there that I've heard where you can basically almost double check your emails and your copy to make sure, hey, like it's comprehensible enough in a third grade, fifth grade reading level.
yeah, I got it right now. I think there's like I was looking up AI reading comprehension, but there are a couple of them. You could probably there's so many AI tools now. Um, but dude, it's if there's one thing that I can tell you, right? Like, and this is kind of not even related to trust, but kind of related to trust, is like there's actually it is pretty related to trust. You got to get better at public speaking and you got to get good at copywriting. Public speaking is obviously speaking to a person, a group, a whole community, sometimes an audience like 300 people. Other things, copywriting, not like, hey, copyright infringement, but like copywriting in a sense like you're writing something with the intent of transferring information to someone else's brain.
Hmm.
You ever like read an ad or saw an ad, you're like, wow, that really spoke to me. That's what copywriting is. And if you get really good at copywriting and you study the people that are good at copywriting, there's like Joseph Sugarman, Ogilvy Group, all of these like OGs. They're people that they just tell you it's like people's reading comprehensions are so low. You have to write with less jargon, be super exact. And I think even when I teach, it's like I don't tell people like at seminars, I barely use the word femur. I say thigh bone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just go super, super simple. Like I don't say any of these crazy things. I'm like, your thigh's got to move this way. Like, it's and you should get used to like communicating that way because I think it's easier to for patients and it's easier for whoever that you're interacting with.
No, I think that's a great point. One of the things that I've been doing this year, and I still think is a something that needs to be improved on and changed, is our call script. So our discovery call script for our front desk that, when they're going through describing the actual initial evaluation, how can we like dumb it down and simplify it even more so that, even somebody who doesn't come in from a healthcare background can understand, hey, this is exactly the solution I need in order to help me achieve my end goal.
Yeah, because and you have to use the language that like your target demographic is going to start to give you, right? Like before, I used to be scared of like saying things like stability. I'm like, oh no, what are my pain science friends going to tell me? The body isn't inherently unstable. I'm invoking fear. It's like, bro, they're using this language with you. It's okay, and as long as you can tie it to something functional, like yes, the shoulder feels unstable because the right side can only press half the amount that the left side could. So once you press the same amount, you're probably going to feel more stable there. Am I, like it's okay to like, you know, talk to the patient the way that they're talking to you and use that kind of vocabulary.
Absolutely. One of the things that I just kind of noticed, I don't know if it's innately or maybe I've also heard this somewhere as well too, but I almost try and mimic where the maybe the type of tonality or the type of like language or accent that they're coming from. Like, so for those of you guys who don't know, I actually grew up in New Jersey, but I live down in the South right now, here in Jacksonville. But whenever I have a client that comes in and I know they're from up north, man, I don't know what it is, man. Like the Jersey accent just starts coming out. And I don't know if it's just like, hey, I feel more comfortable, or I'm trying to maybe even relate to them a little bit more, with kind of some of that Jersey accent, or if it's somebody who's like really, really Southern. I'll try and mimic a little bit more of like that southern twang a little bit. But
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
I don't know.
hey, change the music, country music. Change, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
change this, yeah, change the music up. But yeah. Um,
Nah, and this is something I always tell when we have our seminars and people ask me about this like questions like how do we like move things along quicker, right? It's like people trust there's two people that you can build rapport with easily, right? It's people that are very similar to yourself and people that you aspire to be. So like another thing that I'll say that builds trust is like if you're on Instagram, it's like post the fact that you're learning, share the books that you're reading, share the all the different contents and stuff that you're doing, right? Like if you're taking these seminars to share that if you are like, hey, I'm working with my own coach, my own therapist, like if you show that you're improving, you're naturally going to attract people that want to improve as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that you guys also hear too on this podcast is all the shit that me and Andy are failing at. And I don't know if it's failing, but the things that aren't going great in our business. I think a lot of times, like, we're just like you guys. We make a lot of mistakes along the way, and we learn from these mistakes. But I think the main thing that maybe not a lot of people who are business coaches that tell you guys is this shit ain't easy, and there's a lot of
Right.
bumps along the way. But it's okay. That's part of the game.
Yeah. And it's like you want to put it, you just got to figure out what game you want to play, and it's not for everybody. But awesome, man. I think, man, we went in on this one. Any last words or things that you want to bring up in regards to like building trust?
Um, I don't think so. Maybe one more thing is I think like when you're on the initial evaluation, when you're talking to people, make sure you talk with conviction.
Yeah.
You gotta, yeah, people just gotta know that, hey, when you talk to them about the solution that you're providing, that they're confident that you're confident in your skill set to be able to get them to the end result. I would say, yeah, that's probably like maybe the last thing that I would throw in there that we didn't really touch upon too much. Yeah, just being able to speak with conviction that, hey, you are the go-to guy to get them to the end goal.
Ooh, I think that's gonna be a good podcast. We talk about eval flow
UFO, yeah, let's do it.
because yo, you guys think we're just business people. We're fucking ninjas. Awesome, guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And if there's anything that you guys want to learn more about, at Go Getters Coaching on Instagram, just shoot us DMs, show us that you're listening, tag us, and let us know any ideas. We've got a laundry list of things, but if there's something that's like on top of mind and you really want some opinions or advice, let us know because we're always game to talk shop.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Make sure you go get after it.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, babe. Brandon.
Peace.
Peace.